So let's take a look at how we can work these percent problems out without a calculator. One of the easiest ways to do it is turning percents to decimals, because decimal multiplication is really not that hard to do. A thing I need to point out to you, if you've not already aware, like when you multiply with trailing zeros, like if you have 30 times 400, really all you have to do is multiply the 3 times the 4, which is going to give you the 12. And all you got to do is stick on the 3 trailing zeros, and that would be the math for that, and you'd have 12,000. If I have 80 times 20, you can ignore the trailing zeros, so just say 8 times 2 is 16, and then stick on the trailing zeros, and your answer would be 1,600. So another thing to look at is when you multiply decimals, essentially what we're doing is we're ignoring the decimal. We're seeing it as 25 times 15. So in other words, what I'm kind of doing is I'm making these whole numbers by moving the decimal 2 places here and moving the decimal 1 place here to make that one a whole number. So our attention is drawn to then just what is 25 times 15. And again, you don't have to rewrite this problem. You could have done it all over here. You're just ignoring the decimal. I'm just going to try to make it a little bit clearer. So 5 times 5 is going to be then 25, and you carry your 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 makes it 12. And then you put your placeholder of 0 here because that's actually in the tens place, so we use 0 as a placeholder. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 2 is 2. And then we add it all together, our two partial products. 5 plus 0 is 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. So we have 375. So when we come over here, the math is the same. We get this 375. But the catch is we ignored 3 decimal places. So we're required to put those 3 decimal places back in the problem. So we're required to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, and move it over here. So our final answer actually is this 0.375. So when I do this math up here, as I said, 6% really is the same thing as 0.06. And what we're doing is multiplying by 5. So again, essentially what I'm looking at is just making it whole numbers. It's just going to be 6 times 5. 6 times 5 is going to be 30. So when I come over here, I'm going to get the same math. But notice that to get a 6, I had to move this decimal 2 places over to the right to do that, which means I got to still move that decimal 2 places back to the left. And that's where we end up with that 30 cents using decimal math. So when I do 20% times 600, I'm going to be doing this 0.20 times 600. If I'm ignoring the decimal, what I'm really seeing is 600 times 20. And remember, those trailing zeros we can just ignore and just say, well, 2 times 6 is 12, and then just drop down all the trailing zeros. There's 3 of them. I've dropped those down. So this math over here, 0.20 times 600, is going to be the same math. It's all about where does the decimal go. So I have this 1, 2, and 3 zeros. But notice that I had to move the decimal 2 places to the right to make that 20. So I have to still move that decimal in our problem back 2 places back to the left to counteract that. So we kind of throw the decimal out and then we put it back in as needed. So then our final result will be then this 120, or in other words, our discount was $120 if we put the labels in there. So see if that helps out a little bit if you just want to try to do some of this math without the calculator.